here in Calgary, Alberta, and today we have an absolutely beautiful car. The 2014 Maserati Ghibli SQ4. Now this is Maserati's first take at kind of their entry-level sedan. They have the Quattroporte with a crap ton of power, but this is a little bit less, but this is also the S version. I'll talk a little bit more about power and torque in a second, as well as that engine, and it's a very special engine that is. The Maserati Ghibli is absolutely stunning from the front and from a front three-quarter view. I absolutely love the front grille on Maserati, gorgeous. It's very aggressive, nice vents down below as well to help cool that big engine. I want to start this review with the overall styling. Like I said, I do really enjoy the styling of the front and of the side of the Ghibli. The rear end is a little bit bizarre, but it's not too bad. So this is the Ghibli SQ4. The S stands for more power in the engine, and the Q4 is the all-wheel drive system. The all-wheel drive system is very interesting. It starts at 100% rear-wheel drive and can give up to 80% to the front wheels if needed. Again, a couple things that come with the S version. We have front and rear parking sensors that are standard on this model. We have some beautiful 18-inch wheels, which I'll show you in just a second as well. But I want to quickly talk about that engine. Now Maserati and Ferrari, they're kind of like brother and sister. The engine was actually built in the Ferrari factory by the Ferrari personnel themselves. It was developed by a legendary Ferrari F1 person. And trust me, it sounds absolutely fantastic. It's a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 producing 410 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque. We're going to listen to it in a couple minutes, but let's go ahead and take a look at the side, see what the side profile's like. As I said, the 18-inch wheels are standard on this model. They do look pretty good. I think it could use some 19s or 20s, which are available options. Again, this is what comes as standard. Again, we have the 3 vents on the side, which is classic with Maserati. Every single car that they make nowadays has those 3 vents. It gives it that little bit more of aggression. Like I said, the rear end of the Maserati Ghibli isn't the most beautiful looking piece of this car, but it's not terrible. It seems a little bit wider. It is pretty girthy. The quad exhausts look pretty dope as well. So as I said, the Q4 stands for the all-wheel drive system. The overall design back here is pretty basic. We have a small lip spoiler that's built into the trunklet itself. Other than that, nothing too crazy back here. Let's go ahead and see what the space is like though. And it's quite a deep trunk. Because this car is a little bit longer than your average sedan, it can fit quite a bit of luggage in the trunk. In the right-hand corner of the screen, you'll find the luggage space with the seats folded normal. But in the left-hand corner of your screen, you will find the cargo space with the seats folded down to maximize your storage capacity. Now let's talk about that engine. Now, as I said, a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 developed and built by Ferrari. Pretty clean engine bay under here, I must say. Let's go ahead and start it up, hear how it sounds. Before I do that though, I want to point out the key to the Maserati, which might be the heaviest key I've ever felt in my entire life. The thing it's very heavy. It's very heavy. Listen to it. Now that you've heard how that engine sounds, it does sound pretty good. I don't know if you guys can hear the turbo sounds that I can hear from the inside. It sounds pretty good. Let's go to the back and get that mean, absolutely beautiful exhaust note that comes out of this thing. Before we go on with the rest of this review, I have to say a special thank you to Norm and the rest of the guys over at International MOTORCARS for providing me with this Ghibli for the day. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, They've been extremely helpful with getting these cars and providing them for me as well. They've got a whole bunch of new cars that just came in. They got a really cool spec GTR. They just got a freaking 800 wheel horsepower Supra. So make sure you go check them out. Linked in the description below is their website, as well as a link to this exact Ghibli, which is for sale right now, right around $58,000 Canadian. And you should buy this exact one because it only has 36,000 kilometers on it. Basically brand new. The Ghibli moves, I will give it that. Definitely goes in a straight line quicker than a lot of cars, which is a markup for the Ghibli. Now Ghibli, a very, very bizarre name for a car, and it's Italian for something that I don't know, and I don't think you guys care either, so I'm not going to talk about it. But what I am going to talk about is how this car drives, what it's like, and kind of get a sense of what the Ghibli's like if you were daily driving it. So let's start with the engine. Like I said, it's a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 built by Ferrari, and it sounds absolutely amazing. Not only does it sound good, it also rips pretty good as well. I'm going to just roll down the window for a second. Hopefully you can hear this, but I'll go into first gear. And I'm in sport mode, which means the exhausts are open at idle or at around 3,500 RPM, so wait. Ghibli is a fun car. Very, very fun car. The transmission is fantastic. Very smooth, 8-speed transmission, which means that when you're on the highway and you're in the higher gears, you're going to save more fuel, which is really good. I mean, having a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 instead of a bigger, naturally aspirated V8 means that you're going to get better fuel economy. You're also probably going to make a little bit more power than you would with an NA V8. Now, moving on. One thing that I am a little upset about with the Ghibli, and it's funny because, so this is the Ghibli SQ4. There's the Ghibli S, the Ghibli SQ4, and then you can also add the sport package on top of that. And in the Ghibli SQ4, which is the one we're driving right now, with 400 horsepower, there's no paddles. No paddles to be found anywhere. You need to get the sport package on top in order to get that. So in order to play around with manual mode, you actually have to use the gear lever itself, which is a little weird, especially when you get used to using the paddles more often. It's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something that I think should be fitted as standard in all Ghiblis, let alone an SQ4. In terms of the ride and how this car feels to drive, it's very smooth. You know, at the end of the day, this is, you know, it's a lot of the stuff that it's built with is Chrysler stuff, and the Maserati stuff is just fantastic. The seats, the Italian leather on these seats, absolutely wonderful. Just beeped at me for no reason. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The seats are absolutely wonderful. This Italian leather feels absolutely very premium. It doesn't really feel like it could get any better than this. The seats are also super comfy. They don't hold you in quite as well as I would have hoped in a car like this, but I guess, you know, this isn't the Quattroporte, this isn't the Gran Turismo, so this car isn't designed to absolutely rip around a racetrack. So it is nice having, you know, comfortable seats that aren't too huggy, but I do wish that they had a little bit more support on the bolstering. The suspension is also very comfortable. When you're riding over bumps, you hardly feel them. You can get the adaptive suspension in, you know, another package that you get with the Ghibli. This one is not fitted with it, but the standard suspension does feel really good. You don't really feel the bumps, and the seats soak them up really nicely. The Ghibli. So Maserati is known for their beautiful interiors, and this is really no exception. There's a few things that I'm going to point out that are a little bit bizarre, and I think come from the more Chrysler part of the division rather than Maserati themselves. But let's start with the good things. Now, this wood in the middle is real wood. I mean, it's like, it just feels so nice. Like, I just want to rub the wood, right? You just want to rub it. Everything else feels really nice as well. I like the steering wheel. It feels good in your hands. It's nice and chunky. It kind of reminds me of the Tesla steering wheel a little bit, the way that it's shaped, and BMW in terms of the width. All of the materials on the door feel nice and soft as well. Again, we have this beautiful wood that's here. Some nice aluminum pieces as well. Once you come into the central screen, you start to notice a few of the more Chrysler-like things. This navigation system, this infotainment system, is from every Jeep, every Chrysler, every Dodge that there is. So, you know, you're driving, you go to the airport, you take your flight, you get into your rental car, and it's a base level Jeep, and you have the same thing. It's a little bit bizarre, but you know, it's nice being able to share parts, and it costs a lot of money to develop stuff in-house. So that's, you know, it's a tiny little thing. It works well. All the touch is actually really responsive, which is an absolute plus. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. All the switches down here are nicely laid out too. Very simple, nothing too confusing at all. The gear lever itself is a little bit confusing when you first start. So if you put it into manual mode, and then you try and get out of manual mode using the thing, it's a little bit confusing the way that it works. And then to get back into drive, you simply push the M again and it goes back into drive. Pretty easy system to use, but if you don't know what you're doing, you might get a little bit confused at first. Let's talk about the room in here. It's actually a very roomy cabin. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm, like I said, I'm 6'2" and I have plenty of room everywhere. My headroom is pretty good. I could lower my seat even more. My hip and shoulder room is absolutely fantastic as well. No complaints there whatsoever. One interesting thing, and I actually saw this on another review, I think it was CNET who did the review on the Ghibli. They pointed out that the volume switch and the tune switch for the radio, very important switches they are, don't illuminate at night. So you can't see them if it's dark. You kind of have to look around for your switches in your Ghibli, which is a little bit bizarre to say the least. In terms of what we have in front of me, I have two analog gauges. I have a tach on the right and a speedo on the left. In the middle, I have a pretty good size and very clear viewing digital display in the middle. Right now, I'm looking at my fuel economy. It's very easy to see. We'll talk about fuel economy in just a second. Torque distribution page, which is a very interesting page, and this comes back to the whole Q4 part of the Ghibli. So like I said, it's 100% rear-wheel drive until the front wheels are needed. So as you can see right now on this little screen, it says, it's kind of switching because I'm turning a little bit. The more you turn, it sends torque to different parts of the car. So when I come around this sweeping corner, now I've got 5%, 10%, 25, 35, 50. Now it's 50-50. It's very interesting the way that this car is smart enough to put the torque where it needs to go to make sure that you're safe and this car handles well. And you want to talk about car handling well for a sedan? This thing is brilliant. Very planted through the corners. You can take corners a lot faster than the majority of sedans. Forget your BMW 5 Series or anything for that matter. This is just as good as handling. It's very impressive. One of the most interesting quirks about the Ghibli that I have just noticed is if you go to the nav section on the infotainment screen, there's actually a little icon that says tools. It has a little toolbox on it. And I'm going to go ahead and think that when you press that button, you're going to get some Allen wrenches, you're going to get some socket wrenches that come out of the glove box. So let's find out. Anything in the glove box? No, so that doesn't really do anything. That's more just about help, my data. Oh, there's a calculator here. So if you need to do your logs, your cosine, your tangents, all your trigonometric ratios, the Ghibli's going to be able to help you with that, which is a big plus. I have a calculator in my freaking Ghibli. Hey bro, does your car have a freaking calculator? I didn't think so, but my Ghibli does. Did you guys know that 7 times 4 is 28? My Ghibli just told me that. I want to quickly talk about what sort of people this car would appeal to. You know, a Ferrari engine, it appeals to a lot of people because it's practical, you have a lot of room, it's fuel efficient, it sounds amazing, and it's Italian. A man who, during the weekdays, he does the business, you know. On the weekends, he takes his wife and kids out for a nice dinner at an Italian restaurant. During the week, he drives his Ghibli to and from the business office where he can do some more business. So the Ghibli kind of appeals to a wide variety of people. But in all seriousness, this car is absolutely fantastic. There's so much to like about this car that it really appeals to pretty much everybody. Anybody who can afford a car like this, it's an absolutely fantastic option. Now let's quickly touch on the fuel efficiency of the Ghibli. Now that's a very interesting topic to talk about when you talk about Italian cars. Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati even themselves. But this car, I've been driving it, you know, on and off, a bit on the highway, and a little bit of ripping it. 13.5 liters per 100 kilometer, which is actually not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. That's a pretty good number to be getting in a car that has a Ferrari-built engine, let's be honest. You'll probably get a little bit worse in the city because I've been doing a little bit more highway stuff, but honestly, it's not that bad. And it also has rain-sensing wipers, which is also very nice. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on this Maserati Ghibli. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. There's going to be a whole lot more Italian stuff and a whole bunch of other stuff coming your way to JNS Daily Drives, so make sure you're ready. Be ready for it. That's all I ask. We'll see you next time.